Good evening, Oak Ridge High School students. I want to welcome you back for lesson number 2. It's going to be a much shorter lesson this time because there's an area that we really need to focus on. And I want to give you a little bit of time to make sure that you get your computers out, because what I'm going to go over with you is on a website. It's called the University of North Carolina colons and semicolons. It's the Writing Center. So I think if you you look under UNC and you plug in Writing Center, semicolons and colons, you'll get the website to pop up for you. You're going to need to follow along with me so that we can go over semicolons and colons and dashes because they're going to be a big part of the English writing exam. So I'll give you 5 minutes to pull that up, and then we'll get started. So if you look, the very first part is about semicolons. And you scroll on down, and it says, in a sentence, you would separate these items with commas: apples, grapes, and pears. Well, what if you wanted to describe them as shiny, ripe apples, small, sweet, juicy grapes, and firm pears? Then you could use a semicolon to replace the colons, the commas. You would say, I bought shiny, ripe apples, small, sweet, juicy grapes, and firm pears. When you use the semicolon and break it out to say, I bought shiny, ripe apples, small, sweet, juicy grapes, and firm pears, it divides it out and makes you pause even more. So it makes the sentence a little bit easier to read. You could use commas, but it's better to use semicolons. Okay, very simple list. Notice it's just talking about going to the grocery store and buying apples, grapes, and pears. The next sentence, I went to the grocery store today. I bought a ton of fruit. Apples, grapes, and pears were all on sale. If you scroll on down, you see where they're teaching you how to connect sentences with semicolons. So the first sentence says, I went to the grocery store today. I bought a ton of fruit. Apples, grapes, and pears were all on sale. Notice that the first sentence, I went to the grocery store today, is a complete sentence. And that is always your first check when it comes to determining whether you can use a semicolon or not. If it just said, I went, you couldn't use the semicolon past the word went. It actually has to be a complete sentence. So they're connecting two independent sentences together. You can also connect the last two sentences together. I went to the grocery store today. I bought a ton of fruit. Apples, grapes, and pears were all on sale. So notice in the second sentence, they use the semicolon after I bought a ton of fruit. That is a complete sentence, so you can use a semicolon at that position. You could not use two semicolons. I went to the grocery store today. I bought a ton of fruit. Apples, grapes, and pears were all on sale. You cannot connect 3 sentences by using 2 semicolons. It is not appropriate English. If you scroll on down, you'll see colons. Now, colons are used the same way as semicolons in that they connect lists and they connect sentences. However, when you use a colon, you're using words that you need that depend on the second sentence. For instance, we cover many of the fundamentals in our writing class: grammar, punctuation, style, and voice. Grammar, punctuation, style, and voice tell you what the fundamentals are. And without that, you have no clue what the sentence is talking about. So it is connecting a list where after we say the complete sentence of, we cover many of the fundamentals in our writing class, grammar, punctuation, style, and voice, the example that is used there, those examples refer back and tell you what the fundamentals are. Same thing in the next one. My roommate gave me the things I needed most: companionship and quiet. Companionship and quiet are examples of what the roommate gave that they needed most. Is my roommate gave me the things I needed most a complete sentence? Yes, it is. You scroll on down and you'll see common colon mistakes. Probably the most important part of what we're learning today. If you learn this, it'll help you with the exam. It says the very best peaches are, semicolon, those that are grown in the great state of Georgia. Is the very best peaches are a complete sentence? No. So you can't just put a colon there. You could have said the very best peaches are grown in Georgia and put a colon and listed different types of peaches. That would be correct. This sentence is wrong. If you look at the next sentence, it says, my favorite cake is made of, with a colon, carrots, flour, butter, eggs, and cream cheese icing. Well, all of those are example of ingredients that their favorite cake is made of. However, the first part, my favorite cake is made of, is not a complete sentence. So you cannot put a colon after anything that's not a complete sentence. So you would just take the colon out and the sentence would be correct. Okay, so that was just a brief going over semicolons and colons. You're going to need to read that through. And if I were you, I would read that through quite often so that I understood how to use them. You're going to see about 10 questions on the English writing section that are going to have colons and semicolons as answers. And you do need to know how to use them. The last part is about dashes. Dashes are used whenever you want to emphasize something. For instance, after 80 years of dreaming, the elderly man realized it was time to finally revisit the land of his youth, Ireland. It was important for you to know that he was talking about Ireland as he was writing his script. So just remember, it's used for emphasis, but notice where that dash is located. It is at the end of the sentence. One dash at the end, one dash in the beginning, like the next example. The Office, a harmless television program or a dangerously subversive guide to delinquency in the workplace. The Office is one thing, and it starts at the beginning, and it has a dash, one dash. Now, scroll on down, and notice the next one, really, really important. Everything I saw in my new neighborhood, dash, from the grateful elm trees to the stately brick buildings, dash, reminded me of my alma mater. Two dashes because what you're emphasizing is from the graceful elm trees to the stately brick buildings. Look at the next one. The students, dash, they were over the age of 18, dash, lined up in the streets to vote for the presidential candidates. It's important to have two dashes because what you're emphasizing is the fact that they were over 18 years old. You can scroll on down. The website gives you additional information. That's just a really, really quick run over colons and semicolons. I want you to continue to read that website and study it before tomorrow. And then if you have any questions, get in the meeting and we'll discuss it. I will continue to have the meetings from 9 to 11 and 7 to 9. Today, I didn't have many show up, but I was thankful to have the ones that did, and they did have questions, and I think we solved and gave them good answers. I want to leave you with this for this evening. Again, it's a very short video. It doesn't take long to go through semicolons and colons and dashes, but there is a lot there, and there are a lot of questions that involve those. And you'll run across those on your exam. Go back and do your English writing exam as you're learning these. Try to pick a different answer if you realize that the first one you picked was not correct. We are still going to go over exams as we move along. I want you to know I'm very proud of how many of you watched the video last night. And if we can continue to get 35 out of 45 of you watching each video, then I know that we're going to be very effective in 1 month in getting you to pass this exam. You guys have a good evening, and we will see you in the morning.